The Anderson family Thanksgiving dinner had always been a showcase of success, power, and barely concealed competition. This year was no different, except that I was about to become their favorite topic of ridicule. "So, Olivia," my cousin Brandon smirked from across the mahogany dining table, cutting into his organic turkey, "still playing entrepreneur with your little consulting business?" I took a slow sip of wine, letting the expensive vintage my Uncle Thomas had been bragging about wash away the bitter taste of their condescension. At 32, I was the black sheep of a family that measured worth in corner offices and corporate titles. "The business is doing well, actually," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. No need to mention that wealth meant I just closed my third multi-million-dollar deal this quarter. "Oh honey," Aunt Patricia chimed in, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she reached for more cranberry sauce. "When Brandon says playing, he means it lovingly. We're just concerned. Anderson Corp has always kept executive positions open for family." Of course they had. Anderson Corp, the family's precious consulting firm, had been the golden ticket for 3 generations. My Uncle Thomas ran it now, with Brandon as CFO and my other cousin Madison as head of client relations. They consulted for some of the biggest names in tech and finance, or at least they used to. "Thanks, Aunt Patricia, but I prefer building something of my own." Madison snorted into her wine glass. "Building? Please. Your LinkedIn still lists you as independent consultant. That's just corporate speak for unemployed." The table erupted in practiced laughter. Even the staff, serving sides in gleaming silver dishes, seemed to be hiding smirks. "Speaking of building things," Uncle Thomas cut in, "Brandon just closed a deal with Silicon Valley's newest unicorn." "What was it, son?" "50 million. Brandon puffed up like a peacock. 60 actually. They specifically requested Anderson Corporation. He turned to me with fake sympathy. "But hey, I'm sure what do you call your company again?" "Phoenix Consulting Group," I said quietly. More laughter. "Right, Phoenix. Very dramatic. I'm sure you'll land a real client eventually. Maybe start with some mom-and-pop shops." What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Phoenix Consulting Group operated entirely through shell companies and subsidiaries. In the past 5 years, I'd built a network so intricate and powerful that half the Fortune 500 companies came to us for strategic planning. My name never appeared on any paperwork, any client lists, any press releases. Just the way I wanted it. "How many employees do you have now?" Madison pressed, clearly enjoying herself. "Still working from that cute little home office?" I thought about the 3 floors Phoenix occupied in downtown's most prestigious building, the team of 200 specialists I'd handpicked from top firms worldwide, and the private elevator that led to my penthouse office. "It's comfortable," was all I said. My father, silent until now, cleared his throat. He'd never quite forgiven me for turning down a vice presidency at Anderson Corp 5 years ago. "Olivia, maybe it's time to be practical. Brandon could always use another analyst on his team." "An analyst?" I set down my fork. "Dad, I have an MBA from Wharton and 10 years of industry experience." "Experience?" Brandon laughed. "Running a one-person consulting shop from your living room isn't experience, cousin. It's avoiding reality." Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my chief of operations. "Sterling Tech deal is ready. They're desperate to close before the market opens Monday. Should I send the contracts?" Sterling Tech, one of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. They'd been desperately trying to acquire their main competitor, but needed a consulting firm with both tech expertise and merger experience to make it happen. They'd approached Anderson Corp first. Brandon had personally pitched them 3 weeks ago. They'd chosen Phoenix instead. I typed back, "Hold the contracts until Monday morning. Let them sweat a little." "At least Brandon's doing something meaningful," Aunt Patricia was saying. "Did you know Anderson Corp is handling the Sterling Tech merger? It's all over the financial news." I bit back a smile. "Really? I heard they went with another firm." Brandon's fork clattered against his plate. "Where did you hear that?" "Oh, you know how rumors spread in the industry." I dabbed my lips with a napkin, enjoying the way his face had suddenly lost its smugness. "I'm sure it's nothing to worry about." Uncle Thomas frowned. "Brandon, is there something you need to tell me?" "It's handled," Brandon snapped, but I could see the panic in his eyes. Sterling Tech had been their biggest potential client this year. Losing them would be devastating to Anderson Corp's fourth quarter numbers. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah. Anderson Corp's stock just dropped 12% in after-hours trading. Rumors about Sterling Tech must have leaked. I smiled into my wine glass. Thanksgiving was about to get much more interesting. More turkey, anyone? Aunt Patricia asked desperately, trying to dispel the tension. Madison pulled out her phone, probably checking the stock alerts. Her face went pale. Dad? We need to talk. Now. Uncle Thomas excused himself, following Madison and Brandon into his study. Through the dining room's open doors, I could see their animated gestures, hear the rising panic in their voices. Wonder what that's about, my mother mused. I just smiled, thinking about the contracts sitting in my office downtown, waiting for a signature that would save or sink Anderson Corp's reputation. My signature. Just family business, Mom. Nothing to worry about. The study door slammed open. Brandon stormed back in, his designer tie askew, face flushed with either rage or fear. Probably both. The merger's dead, he announced. Sterling Tech went with another firm. Some new player called. He checked his phone. Aurora Consulting. I hid my smile. Aurora Consulting, one of Phoenix's many faces. But that's impossible, Uncle Thomas sputtered. Who even are they? We've never heard of them. Apparently, Madison added, looking sick, they're a subsidiary of some larger firm. Very exclusive, very private. They've been behind half the major tech mergers this year. Half the mergers? Aunt Patricia's voice rose. But that would mean. It means, Brandon collapsed into his chair, we're in trouble. Big trouble. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Well, this has been lovely, but I should really get back to my little consulting business. Those mom-and-pop shops won't consult themselves, right? As I walked toward the door, Brandon called out, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. Hey, Olivia. You don't happen to know anyone at these bigger consulting firms, do you? From your MBA days, maybe? I turned back, savoring the moment. Oh, I might know a few people. Why don't you have your office call mine on Monday? We can discuss it over coffee. Your office. Madison snorted, but weakly this time. You mean your living room? I pulled a business card from my purse, sleek, black with just a phone number and the Phoenix logo. Actually, I have a new address. 47th floor of the Metropolitan Tower. You can't miss it, my company's name is on the building. The Metropolitan Tower's lobby fell silent when I walked in Monday morning, Brandon and Madison trailing behind me like chastened schoolchildren. Their designer suits couldn't hide their desperation. Anderson Corp's stock had dropped another 15% at market open. Good morning, Miss Phoenix, the security guard nodded. I'd kept my mother's maiden name for business, another detail that had helped keep my success hidden from the family. The private elevator opened with a soft chime. Brandon's eyes widened at the brushed gold interior, the subtle Phoenix logo embossed on the walls. This was a far cry from the living room office they'd mocked just days ago. Impressive, Madison admitted grudgingly. How long have you? 5 years, I answered, watching the floor numbers climb. Since the day I turned down that vice presidency at Anderson Corporation. But that's impossible, Brandon sputtered. You'd need millions in startup capital, connections, clients dash. All of which I had. I smiled as the doors opened to Phoenix's main floor. I just didn't need the Anderson name to get them. The office sprawled before us, open concept, state-of-the-art, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Teams of analysts moved purposefully between glass-walled conference rooms. Multiple screens displayed real-time market data, global news feeds and project timelines. Sarah approached, tablet in hand. Morning, Olivia. Sterling Tech CEO is on line 1. They're getting nervous about the merger timeline. Madison grabbed my arm. Wait. You're behind Aurora Consulting. Aurora, Meridian Partners, Global Strategic Solutions. I listed off, gently removing her hand. All Phoenix subsidiaries. We prefer to let our work speak for itself, not our family connections. Brandon's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. The Jensen acquisition last spring. The Turner Tech merger. That was all you? The very same deals Anderson Corp pitched and lost, I confirmed, leading them to my corner office. Though you never knew who you were losing them to, did you? They stood awkwardly as I settled behind my desk, taking in the industry awards lining the walls, the framed Fortune 500 magazine cover featuring Phoenix's latest triumph, though my photo had been deliberately excluded. Why didn't you tell us? Madison's voice was small. Would you have believed me? I asked, opening my laptop. Besides, you seemed so happy thinking I was failing. Who was I to spoil your fun? Brandon cleared his throat. About that, we may have been a bit condescending. Take your pick. I pulled up Anderson Corp's latest financial reports. But that's not why you're here, is it? You need Phoenix to save Anderson Corporation. Dad's desperate, Madison admitted. Without the Sterling Tech merger, we'll lose our top-tier consulting status. No major firm will work with us. Our stock is in free fall, Brandon added. We need a strategic partner, someone with tech sector expertise. You need me, I finished simply. The cousin who was playing entrepreneur is now your only hope of survival. They exchanged glances, years of superiority crumbling in the face of reality. What's your price? Brandon finally asked. I stood, walking to the window. Below, Anderson Corp's building was visible, smaller, older, but still proud. I'd spent my childhood drawing that logo, dreaming of following in my father's footsteps, until I realized I could forge my own path. Phoenix will acquire a controlling interest in Anderson Corp, I said, turning back to face them. We'll restructure the management team, modernize your client approach, and bring you into the digital age. Dad will never agree to give up control, Madison protested weakly. I smiled. Check your stock alerts. Their phones buzzed simultaneously. Brandon's face went white. We're down another 20%. How did you? I may have mentioned to a few key investors that Sterling Tech chose Phoenix over Anderson Corp due to serious concerns about your tech sector expertise. I sat back down, enjoying their shocked expressions. Amazing how fast the market responds to rumors, isn't it? You planned this, Madison whispered. All of it. The timing, the leak, the stock drop. Let's call it karma, I suggested. For every family dinner where you mocked my dreams. For every snide comment about my little business. For every time you made me feel small for choosing my own path. A knock at the door interrupted us. Sarah entered with a stack of documents. The acquisition papers are ready. Mr. Anderson is waiting in the main conference room. Dad's here. Brandon stood up. But how? I called him an hour ago, I said, gathering the contracts. Suggested he might want to be present for this historic moment. Shall we? The main conference room fell silent as we entered. Uncle Thomas sat at the far end, looking older than I'd ever seen him. My father sat beside him, his expression unreadable. Olivia, Uncle Thomas acknowledged, his voice hoarse. Or should I say Miss Phoenix? Either works. I settled into the chairman's seat. Though after today you'll probably want to stick with CEO. Sarah distributed the contracts. I watched as they read through the terms, noting how their faces fell at each new revelation of Phoenix's true scope and power. This is comprehensive, my father finally said. I learned from the best, I replied, though I did add my own touches. For instance, Brandon and Madison will retain their positions after completing Phoenix's executive training program. Starting at entry level. Brandon started to protest, but Madison grabbed his arm. They'd finally realized they were no longer in a position to negotiate. And what about me? Uncle Thomas asked quietly. You'll announce your retirement. Effective immediately. I met his eyes steadily. Consider it a chance to spend more time with family. You always said that was important, though usually while missing my college graduation for a client meeting. The only sound was the gentle hum of computers and the distant buzz of office activity as they signed the papers one by one. With each signature, generations of Anderson family dynamics shifted. Welcome to Phoenix, I said as Sarah collected the contracts. I expect everyone at orientation on Monday. 8 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. I hear the CEO is a real stickler for punctuality. Later that evening, as I worked late in my office, my father knocked on the door. I never knew, he said simply. All this time. You never asked, I replied. Too busy believing what you expected to see. He nodded, looking around at what I'd built. I was wrong. We all were. Yes, you were. I closed my laptop. But tomorrow's a new day. And Phoenix believes in second chances, even for family. He smiled slightly. Phoenix. From the ashes of old expectations rises something unexpected, I finished. Now about that executive training program. As he left, I touched the small photo on my desk, my first business license, framed not for what it was, but for what it would become. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right beyond their wildest expectations. And sometimes, just sometimes, it comes with the satisfaction of making them start at the bottom of what you've built, one signature at a time.